I have always been the black sheep of my extended family. While my cousins seemed to effortlessly glide through life, collecting accolades and admiration, I struggled with undiagnosed ADHD and crippling anxiety. Family gatherings were a special kind of torture, filled with sideways glances and not-so-subtle comparisons. But no one shone quite as brightly as my cousin Ethan, 30 mum. He was the golden boy, the pride and joy of our entire clan. With his chiseled jawline, piercing blue eyes, and megawatt smile, Ethan could charm the scales off a snake. He breezed through an Ivy League education, landed a cushy job at a prestigious law firm, and married Olivia, a stunning pediatric surgeon with a heart of gold. Every family reunion was the Ethan show, with our relatives fawning over his latest accomplishments. Did you hear about Ethan's big promotion? Ethan and Olivia are expecting their second child. Ethan just ran a marathon for charity. It was enough to make me want to vomit into the perfectly manicured rose bushes. This year's reunion was held at my aunt and uncle's sprawling country estate. The sun-dappled lawn was dotted with white tents, the air filled with the tantalizing aroma of barbecue and the tinkling laughter of my perfect relatives. I skulked around the periphery, nursing a sweating glass of lemonade and trying to avoid the pitying looks from my more successful family members. As the afternoon wore on, I found myself cornered by Aunt Mildred, a formidable woman with a bouffant hairdo that defied gravity and a penchant for asking invasive questions. Her beady eyes gleamed with barely concealed judgment as she interrogated me about my lackluster love life and dead-end job. I was desperately searching for an escape route when I overheard a heated conversation from behind the nearby hydrangea bushes. To my utter shock, I recognized Ethan's voice, low and menacing. "You can't keep threatening me like this, Darcy. I've already paid you twice what we agreed on." A woman's voice, trembling with anger, replied, "It's not enough, Ethan. Do you have any idea what you've put me through? The trauma? The therapy bills?" My blood ran cold as I pieced together the implications of their conversation. Ethan, my perfectly polished cousin, had apparently done something terrible to this woman named Darcy and was now trying to buy her silence. Before I could process what I'd heard, Aunt Mildred's shrill voice cut through my thoughts. "Well, are you even listening to me, young man? When are you going to get your act together and find a nice girl to settle down with?" Something inside me snapped. Years of pent-up resentment and frustration came bubbling to the surface like lava from a long-dormant volcano. Without thinking, I blurted out, "Why don't you ask your precious Ethan about the girl he's paying off to keep quiet?" The effect was instantaneous. A hush fell over the nearby guests, heads swiveling in our direction like meerkats sensing danger. Aunt Mildred's face cycled through an impressive array of colors, finally settling on a mottled purple. "What did you just say?" she hissed, her eyes bulging dangerously. I knew I should stop, but the words kept tumbling out of my mouth like a runaway freight train. "I heard him, Aunt Mildred. Ethan's been paying hush money to some woman named Darcy. Sounds like he did something pretty awful to her." The next few minutes were chaos. Olivia, who had been chatting with some cousins nearby, dropped her glass of champagne with a resounding crash. Ethan came charging out from behind the hydrangeas, his perfect hair disheveled and his face contorted with rage. "You little rat," he snarled, lunging at me with clenched fists. What followed was a blur of shouting, crying, and accusations. Olivia fled the scene in tears, while Ethan alternated between denying everything and threatening to sue me for defamation. Our relatives were divided, some rushing to Ethan's defense while others demanded answers. In the midst of the uproar, I caught sight of a woman I didn't recognize slipping away from the party. She was petite, with long dark hair and haunted eyes. As she passed me, she whispered, "Thank you," before disappearing down the long driveway. The fallout from my revelation was nuclear. Ethan and Olivia's picture-perfect marriage crumbled under the weight of his secrets. Half the family branded me a troublemaking liar, while the other half grudgingly admitted that perhaps golden boy Ethan wasn't as perfect as he seemed. As for me, I was officially uninvited from all future family gatherings. Part of me felt guilty for causing such upheaval, for shattering the carefully maintained illusion of our family's perfection. But another part, a larger part, felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The truth, as ugly and uncomfortable as it was, had finally come to light. So, dear internet strangers, I ask you, am I the a-hole for exposing my cousin's dark secret and upending our entire family dynamic? Or was it high time someone punctured the bubble of lies and pretense we'd been living in for so long?